Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another discussion video. In today's video, I want to talk about why Gogeta may not be as good as you think it is. This is solely an opinion video. I mean, this opinion will be backed up by points that I'll make in the video. And this is kind of the general consensus that our team is on. Gogeta just doesn't look that strong coming out of set 11. We were really hopeful about it in the beginning of the format because we thought the leader was cool on first glance. The boss monster is pretty neat, but just in testing we found a lot of reasons why the deck just hasn't been performing. You may have seen Marcus's article on Sunday, the free teammate article. Go check it out if you have not on the Patreon. It is totally free to read. Marcus talked about Gogeta just not really standing up to the rest of the format in his top meta picks for set 11. But again, totally our opinions. Just let us know in the comments below what you guys think. Maybe we're totally off the mark. Maybe you guys have a different experience with it. Let us know in the comments below. Guys, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, and also tons of links down in the description to help the channel out. With that being said, we'll just get started. So going into the first point, we're talking about the boss monster SSB Gogeta Technique Unchained. So there are good points of these cards. They're not awful cards, they're not unplayable cards, and this deck will have its positive matchups. We'll talk about that a little bit here. So the 5-drop, for example, fuse for 3, draw 2 when it comes into play, boost the unison by 1 marker, and then minus 15 your opponent's whole board. That has value, that has merit. For example, if you're up against a field of Obuni tokens, get rid of all the tokens, then the Obuni's 5k, you could swing at it. That's pretty cool. Then you have like matchups like AOD, or maybe even like swap matchups if you're playing against someone trying to, you know, reuse the Goten that's been off the ban list. That can get a lot of value in that matchup. So the card has good matchups, and of course, let's not forget, it can't be KO'd. That is one of the other strengths of this card. Of course, also it has deflect. So it's immune to counterplay, immune to being KO'd, has good value as a board wipe, although maybe it could have been a minus 20k because we've seen, like, you know, for example, SSB Kaioken Goku and Vegeta Exploit Weakness both are basically border wipes for 20ks. So maybe that could have been an okay rate here. I do understand wanting to minus 15 it because of the deflect, because of the draw 2 and all that good stuff. I do get it. But yeah, anyway, it's a good card. SSB Gogeta, it's pretty much immune to things like God Sling Technique Trunks or anything that would like bounce it back to hand because you can just immediately replay it. The auto only triggers if it successfully plays. So as long as they like God Sealing it or some bounce it back to your hand some other way that would be in the counterplay window, not in the auto window, you can just constantly replay this card because its auto hasn't triggered yet. But besides that, it can't be KO'd once again. You evolve it for free over this Gogeta, and then when you evolve it, you add 2 markers to a unison, and then you can now play other battle cards for the turn. Obviously, I'm not, you know, telling you anything groundbreaking when I'm saying that's a really, really big restriction because 1, you can't go into your 8-drop Gogeta from set 6, and 2, you can't go into your secret rare the same turn that you drop Gogeta. Again, a very, very fair restriction because if you could like board wipe with your 5-drop, go into your 6, swing, and then potentially just like remove the last thing or two on your opponent's board with the minus 20 effect this thing offers, then yeah, you can go into the 8-drop, you can get free burn damage off. That would be pretty annoying for players to deal with. I do understand that restriction for sure. And then when this card attacks or one of your opponent's cards attacks, you may choose one of your opponent's cards and it gets minus 20,000 power for the battle. If you do, negate the skill for the turn. So on paper, these cards seem quite strong. Not being able to be removed is a pretty good protection. It's a little different than Barrier, and arguably Barrier is better, arguably Barrier is worse, because as time has gone on in DBS, we've gotten a lot more cards that ignore Barrier. So it's kind of like, you know, up to the meta, up to the format. You know, is there a lot of barrier removal in the format? Then, you know, this lack of being KO'd is arguably better, right? So that's not bad at all. And then the auto, you know, triggering that every single turn is definitely not bad. I mean, think back to like the 6-drop red baby ape, right? You know, attacking with that and then having your opponent play a battle card, triggering the minus and draw effect, definitely not bad. But let's get into the reason why this boss monster just doesn't really work out. That main reason is going to be blue. Blue is and has been since, you know, set 10 really, one of the best colors in the game. I mean, for a long time, it was one of the best colors in the game, but really in set 10, blue absolutely dominated. If Vegex was the best deck in set 10, blue Zamasu and blue Vegeta were arguably second best. And it doesn't look like it's really slowing down in set 11 at all. I mean, it looks like Zamasu, Vegeta are still going to be particularly strong. They've gotten a few new toys to play with, but Blue Baby and SS4 Vegeta are looking quite good as well. And the problem with Blue when it comes to playing against, you know, the SSB Gogeta deck in particular is that 1, it's going to be very popular, and 2, they have a lot of removal that involves bouncing, which is one of the few things that gets around your Gogeta's ability to not be KO'd. One of the strongest cards coming out in set 11 is Baby Golden Avenger. This card pretty much just destroys your Gogeta chain. So unique triple strike, counterplay, play this card, then if the battle card being played is an energy cost of 7 or less, it's returned in the owner's hand instead of being played. Now you will remember me mentioning that anything in the counterplay window that bounces Gogeta 6 back to your hand doesn't necessarily matter, because you can just replay it, right? But then the auto is what really makes it a problem. So when this card's played, draw one card, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and place it at the bottom of the owner's deck. So you could respond to the 6-drop with this, you could respond to the 5-drop with this. Either way, you're bottom decking the 5-drop and making the 6-drop unplayable. And when the 6-drop gets bounced to your hand, you have to have a lot of specific things go right. You have to have the fusion pieces once again and another 5-drop so that you can go into a 6-drop. But that takes a lot more energy and basically a whole extra turn for you to get back into that card. So another card, for example, SS3 Gogeta Super Warrior Evolution, the -1 here. Choose up 2 of your opponent's battle cards, returns the owner's hand, then choose up to 1 mono blue sand. That part's not important, but the important thing is the bounce removal dealing with the 6-drop makes it very, very volatile. Fusamasu, I mean, just as a leader, it deals with the 6-drop Gogeta, and these are all cards that are going to be very, very popular in the meta. Blue does not seem weak at all in any sense, so blue is going to be quite popular, and it's going to give your deck a pretty rough time when you're playing Gogeta. And that's one of the other big problems with Gogeta as well. It's a very linear strategy. A lot of times in this game, we've seen linear strategies do well, but that's more along the lines of like Shenron Gogeta, when the deck just does a really, really broken thing. Gogeta does a powerful thing, but I wouldn't call it broken. It's pretty fair in the sense that there are ways to remove the 6-drop, and it doesn't rip your hand down to 3 and whatnot like Gogeta 7 used to do, right? So the other thing there is, again, green Gogeta will have its good matchups, and green can be one of those good matchups because almost everything in green KOs, and Gogeta can't be KO'd, so that's not bad at all. But then you look at a card like Max Power Kamehameha just existing in the game, and your Gogeta is once again in for a pretty rough time. This is a card that every deck can side deck, just about any deck can also even main deck it, and it removes your Gogeta by warping it. That obviously gets around your cannot be KO'd restriction. That's one of the other problems too, is like when Max Power Kamehameha came out, people really thought that Sin Shenron was going to be kicked out of the format, but at least when Sin Shenron's boss monster is removed, they get a draw 2 and they get their negative energy Dragon Ball back, and they even cast their boss monster for cheaper than Gogeta does. When Gogeta loses a 6-drop, you get set back a lot. You don't get anything from losing it. You don't even get its auto to trigger because it relies on your opponent attacking. So you lose out big time when they answer the 6-drop. It's very, very unlike the situation in which Sin Shenron is answered. So really big problem there. Next up, we have to talk about the leaders. I think the old set 6 leader is very good. Obviously, pitching a Goku or Vegeta to draw 2, it's one of the only leaders in the game that can +1 on turn 1 without having to attack. The backside's also incredible as well, but one of the really good cards for the archetype in set 11 is the extra card that grabs the skillless Goku and Vegeta from the deck, and that is only playable when your leader is a Gogeta. So not counting as a Gogeta on the front side here definitely hurts the set 6 leaders playability, although it's definitely not unplayable. But then you look at the other Gogeta leader coming out in set 11. I think the backside of that leader is incredible. Static double strike, draw 1 on swing, and then when you activate Union, draw 1 as well. But I think the backside of this leader is honestly pretty lackluster. Attacking, taking life is cool, but looking at top 7 to only add a red extra card of 1 cost is pretty meh. So the thing here is, like, of course we have the 1-drop red extra card that searches your skilllesses. That's pretty cool. You can search Violent Rays, you can search for like After Image, Wolfang Fist, but at the end of the day, we're not really playing Frieza Prison, right? We're not really searching for an abundance of extra cards. Yeah, you can like Turbo Awaken with this leader, but that kind of goes against what you want to do with this deck, and that's play a solid mid-range game. You don't really want to awaken turn 2 with this leader because you haven't even played your Gogeta Fusion yet. If you awaken on 2, what are you doing turns 3, 4, and 5 when you're tapping out for your Gogeta Fusions and your other plays? You're not getting energy back. So that's not really a super valid argument in terms of like, you can use this effect only a few times. Ideally, if you're playing the deck, to slowly awaken, you're going to resolve this effect 3 or 4 times, possibly miss 1 or 2 of those times, That's not very great. And then when you activate Union, yeah, you draw a card, but that's not going to happen all the time. That's only going to happen on like turn 3 and beyond, unless you play a Veku engine, which like a lot of people aren't even playing Vekus because there's a lot of deck space for not such a great payoff. So the leaders, in my opinion, once again, are a little bit lacking right now. Again, both of them, I think their awakened sides are incredible. Their front sides are lacking a little bit. I honestly think the set 6 leader would be way better if you could use the 1-drop extra card, but unfortunately on the unawakened side, you cannot use that. The final argument I want to make, guys, Topo, Vegeta Exploit Weakness, they are not the cards they once were. I mean, these two cards back in like Surge format, these two cards were some of the main reasons why Red was so dominant, but nowadays, everything answers Topo. I mean, you have Godsling Technique Trunks in blue, you have Focus Breakthrough in green, particularly against like Reboot Gohan, for example, which is a matchup that you really need Topo, but Topo is very easily answerable in that matchup. And then Vegeta Exploiting Weakness, it just hasn't been played in quite a long time. It's very costly on defense, and Red is probably the least fluid when it comes to its energy, because you have a lot of plays you want to make offensively for very strong battle cards, but defensively you also have great counter plays. So there's, you know, a very big, you know, conflict there when it comes to deck building. Do I save my energy, or do I use it here to potentially board away with my Gogeta fusion and go into that? So guys, those are my main 3 arguments for why we just don't find Gogeta to be super strong. Firstly, it's the battle card just not being up to snuff, and the deck being very linear. The leaders aren't too great, and some of your good red cards like Topo and Vegeta just aren't as good as they once were. But I definitely do want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.